Welcome to Unconventional Portrait Photography Week. So, this week is really fun. You can get really creative with this week, and it's a chance to express who you are as an artist and photographer and to be able to capture who other people are as well. So, as we look through these images, unconventional portraits are a little strange. They should kind of show the personality of the person. The face doesn't necessarily need to be in there, and there's ways to obscure a face with showing a personality. But these are not your typical senior portraits. They are not your typical portrait that you would find at JC Penney or at a portrait studio. So these are meant to be artistic and creative. They can be funny. You will need to shoot a picture of yourself and a picture of somebody else in a creative, unconventional way. When you're taking pictures of yourself, you are going to need to set a self timer. Maybe you might need a tripod, but you will need to plan ahead for this one because you can't get somebody else to take your photo. So this week it's going to be a challenge to use your self timers on your cell phones or your DSLRs. So when we look at these images, you can pretty much use any type of app you want. You can use Photoshop, you can use Pixar, you can use any app you want to show who you are as a person. And a lot of these photos, you'll see a personality here. So maybe you want to show like a softer, somber side. Maybe you want to show something that's a little more thoughtful. You can use props if you feel like you need to use props to tell who you are as a person. But these pictures should not be handheld. So if it looks like you're taking a selfie, this is not the assignment that we're doing. So you cannot be holding your phone and taking your picture. You have to use a self timer. And it's kind of obvious if you do. So you can use as much or as little photoshopping as you want. I'll be looking at your metadata to make sure that you are using your self timer for your self portrait. But your portrait for anybody else, obviously, can be shot by you. Now, as far as pets go, it is one of the most difficult portraits to take because you have to make them unconventional. So, as a beginner photographer, I would probably stray away from doing any kind of animal photography. You can, but if you decide to, it has to be unique and creative. Pictures like this that incorporate the same person multiple times are really easy to do. You simply set up a tripod, your self timer if it's you, or if you're the photographer, you would snap all these separate photos and your model would just move across your picture plane. We would then stitch them together in Photoshop. And there's apps that do this as well. They don't necessarily need to be pretty. They can kind of be dark and ugly. They can be distorted. These are really good examples of distortion in unconventional portraits. And again, like I said, your face doesn't need to necessarily be seen, but they're creative ways to show who you are as a person. If you need colored backdrops, I have colored backdrops to check out. You can also just use a bedroom sheet or a large piece of paper to get this kind of effect. So as we're looking at examples, there are all different things that you can do to show your personality. You should be looking at the way that people are being posed and the way that their faces are being taken. Again, you can use as much or as little Photoshop as you want this week. So I would highly suggest that you look at Pinterest for inspiration. You can collage your unconventional portraits and cut them out and paste them. But all of these are really good images to show your personality. And again, they should be very strange and odd and creative to look at. You can do color, you can do black and white, you can even incorporate your own drawing skills into your photography. So this week's going to take a little bit of thought, a little bit of creativity, and a little bit of planning. So as you look at these images for this week, this is kind of what I'm looking for. You can use any kind of app you want. It can be whole body, it can be three-quarter view of you, it can be a frontal view of you, but use these images as a source of inspiration. You don't have to come up with ideas on your own. All right, so that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.